A very good evening to you and welcome to News Night here from our studios at Regional Accra, the Queer Wahima studio. I am Bright Nanakwesi. I'm live and active on DSTV channel 277. Coming up in the next 60 minutes. Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice investigates allegations of conflict of interest against Deputy Gender Minister. Designate Francisca Otin-Mensah will bring you a comprehensive insight on the matter. Former Deputy Minister of Energy and Petroleum and MP for Yape, Kuzaugu George Napo hits back at President Akufo-Addo for saying he has failed to bring development to ruling New Patriotic Party NPP appoints new deputy party executives and directors. We will tell you how this shapes the party's leadership to help to win power again in 2024. Greater Accra Regional Minister's flagship program, Operation Clean Your Frontage, to suffer major setback as City Response Task Force alleges political interference and sabotage in their work. On the international front, at least 4 people, including 2 children, have been killed and 9 wounded in an Ethiopian airstrike in Mekelle, capital of the rebel region of Tigray. And thanks for joining us here on the news tonight. First in the bulletin, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice SHRAJ is investigating allegations of conflict of interest against the Deputy Gender Minister designate Francisca Otin-Mensah. The Kwabri East MP is accused of using her influence as the board chairperson of the National Youth Authority to lead the board in approving the procurement of sanitizers from a company in which she is a director and shareholder. There is more in the following report.
Documents from the Registrar General's Department show that Adonko Bitters Limited has 9 directors, including the lawmaker and her father, Kweku Otin. Ms. Otin-Mensah is alleged to have supervised the board to pay 700,000 cedis to Adonko Company, a subsidiary of the Angel Group of Companies. A resident of Nima in Accra, Ishmael Muhammad, on January 21, 2021, therefore petitioned the Anti-Graft Institution to look into the conduct of the MP, insisting the NYA's 3 million cedis expenses on a COVID-19 campaign in 2020 had elements of impropriety. The NYA board's approval of the expenditure on March 31, 2020 came at a time the country had recorded more than 150 cases of COVID-19 and was girding its loins to confront the pandemic. 14 out of the 15 board members of the institution were in the Zoom meeting to approve the amount. That meeting had the board chairperson, Francisca Otin-Mensah, the CEO, Sylvester Tete, and the Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Secretariat, Henry Nanabuache, in attendance.
In a response to the petition, lawyers for Francisca Otin-Mensah, Gatti and Gatti, has told SHRAJ that the petition had no facts that will support the belief that their client had been involved in a conflict of interest situation. There is, without question, no basis for the belief that there has been a conflict of interest situation. The lawyers for the MP say the mere fact that the NYA board chair was linked to Adonko Bitters, where the NYA board hand sanitizers did not put her in a conflict of interest. Now let's take a look at what is happening here on our screens. And it says response to petition. In response to the petition, lawyers for Francisca Otin-Mensah, Gatti and Gatti told SHRAJ that the petition had no fact that would support the belief that their client had been involved in a conflict of interest situation. There's without question no basis for the belief that there has been a conflict of interest situation. There is without question no basis for the belief that there has been a conflict of interest situation. The lawyers for the MP say the mere fact that the NYA board chair was linked to Adonko Bitters, where the NYA bought hand sanitizers, did not put her in a conflict of interest situation. The NYA board chair, according to her lawyers, never participated, deliberated, and presided over the purchase of hand sanitizers from Adonko Bitters Limited, as alleged by the petitioner. An invoice from Adonko Bitters Limited, payment vouchers, and a check from the NYA attached to the response to Suraj, according to Francisca's lawyers, indicating that the purchase of and payment of the hand sanitizers preceded the March 31, 2020 meeting, cited by the petitioner as having discussed the COVID-19 expenditure. It said NYA paid 68,980.58 Ghana cedi to Adonko Bitters for the supply of 290 cartons of hand sanitizers on March 29, 2020. And a member of parliament for, we bring you more on that. But then I have me joined on Zoom by Justice Abdullahi, who is a legal practitioner, and will tell us more what exactly we are looking at in a matter like this. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to News Night.
Indeed, good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have you. Now, you have read the content of the matter. What do you make of it?
I think this is purely a matter of fact, mixed with some few amount of law. And so it shouldn't be too difficult for us to be able to establish if indeed a conflict of interest scenario occurred within surrounding the circumstances that we're dealing with. So the facts would be very clear. The facts to be established are the following: A, whether or not the deputy minister nominee is a director of Adonko company, the company in reference, and whether or not she was at the time of the purchase also the head or the portfolio that she's referred to in the National Youth Authority. If she was, then the next fact to be uncovered would be whether or not at the time of the transaction she took part within either of these portfolios, whether i.e. the company that purchased the items, whether or not she influenced the company in any way, either in the application processes or even in the procurement processes in general, whatever role she might have played, directly or indirectly. And if we do not see anything there, of course, we come to the second aspect of it, the purchasing authority, i.e. the National Youth Authority. We would have to also establish whether in the approval processes, whether she sat with and partook in the deliberations that approved the purchasing of the item from the company that she's a member of. And then after this, we would have to move on to still figuring out further details, whether that includes whether or not she disclosed at the time that the approval process was taking place, whether or not she disclosed her interest in the company or in the transaction in general, whether or not she disclosed this interest. Now, that is the most significant part. Now, if she did disclose, then it has the potential of wiping out everything that we're discussing at this moment. If she did not, then the question to be asked whether or not whether she even sat or did not sit, or would the question that would be asked per the rules of court would be if any bystander looking at the entire transaction can easily conclude that indeed there was an element of conflict of interest. If the answer is yes, should be gone.
Justice, let's educate ourselves tonight. Now, according to Suraj's guideline on conflict of interest, when the promotion of the private interest of a public official result or is intended to result in or appears to be or the potential to result in an interference with the objective exercise of the person's duty, an improper benefit or an advantage by virtue of his or herself position, then it constitutes to conflict of interest. Is this matter close to this statement?
Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm saying. Now, in order to be able to establish the objectives as set out in the outline that you just read out, you need to be able to ask yourself these basic questions that I've asked. And these are about 5 bullet points. Once you're able to establish these, all of them, or even a single of them, is established to the positive, she would be considered to have conflicted her interest as against the national interest.
Legally, in which way could this affect her appointment as the deputy minister designate?
Naturally, if she is indeed found to have conflicted her interest with the nation's interest, she cannot be trusted, and she cannot be trusted to protect the public purse, as has become the mantra. Clearly, her interest would always supersede that of the nation, and that is not good enough. That's a person that can never be trusted under any circumstances. And it will be very difficult for us to know at what point in time in life she probably might have changed her conduct with regards to, and indeed her outlook with regards to the national interest as against her personal interest. And because we can never trust that, it's difficult for us to be able to approve her appointment if it comes to that point. And indeed, Siraj may be right in even instituting any exercising any prosecutorial authorities that they may have with regards to this, because that's a complete breach of the confidence that we have in her.
And pending the outcome of this investigation and the matter, should she continue to hold the office as deputy minister designate?
I think that would be completely wrong, considering the position she finds herself in. If I was in her shoes, I'd rather tender maybe suspend his participation in the activities of the deputy ministerial portfolio. Considering that this allegation, if it is sustained, if it gets sustained, I think it masks all the confidence that the youth would have had in her. In fact, of course, she loses her national, the fight against corruption and every other thing that comes within that portfolio. And in addition to that is the fact that she would not be in the position to continuously hold that office, because if she's found to be guilty of this offense, she would definitely have to lose that office. And so it would be in her interest, and indeed the collective interest of all of us as a nation, for her to, at least for the time being, leave that office and allow impartial investigation into her office and the activities referred to. Because I do not think this will be too difficult to establish if indeed it happened, because there are records that would confirm or otherwise of this entire scenario.
All right, Justice Abdullahi, thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the news. We are grateful. We'll be speaking to Justice Abdullahi, who is a private legal practitioner. We'll be talking about some case found by Nima residents against the Deputy Minister designate for gender here in Ghana. Away from that for now, Member of Parliament for Yape Kuzaugu constituency and a former Deputy Minister of Energy and Petroleum has refuted the claims by President Akufo-Addo that he failed to connect most of the communities in the area to electricity even when he was Deputy Power Minister. He described the President's remarks as wild and flippant allegations. He joins us via Zoom here tonight for more update on what exactly he makes of the President's statements. All right, so we are trying to get him to join us tonight here on the news for what exactly he makes on the President's statement, saying that he is supposed to be ousted by the people in his area. What he hasn't done is that the President says he has not been able to give them what he wanted ever since he assumed office as a Member of Parliament for these areas. And so we are trying to get him to join us tonight here on Zoom for more update on what exactly he means for that. So according to the Member of Parliament for this area, he says, I have just finished listening to the speech delivered by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo at the Yape Rural Palace on the achievements of the NPP vis-a-vis that of the NDC in the constituency. Much as I am confident of constituents' internal appreciation of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and their distinguished Member of Parliament, John Abdullahi Jinapor, I feel proud taking the opportunity to correct, expose and educate President Akufo-Addo on some achievements of the NDC in the area and their impact on their lives of the constituents. It says, 1. When Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapor took over as Deputy Minister of Power, the Yape Kuzaugu constituency had only 4 towns connected to these areas. And it says, for the record, when I was appointed For the Deputy Energy and Petroleum, the Yape Kuzalgu constituency had only 4 towns connected to the national grid in the 4 areas, which is Bupe, Yape, Sankpala and Kuzalgu. By dint of hard work, the constituency currently has about 100 communities connected to the national grid as part of an aggressive national electrification program under the NDC government. So we try and get him here to join us tonight on the news for more update what exactly the president said in these areas when he went there during his tour. So a political analyst, Jonathan Asante-Ocho, says the notion that members of parliament are responsible for development in their jurisdictions instead of the government is a misconception. To him, any developmental lapse is a reflection of the performance of the government. He was speaking on the back of President Akufo-Addo's heckling of member of parliament for Yape Kuzalgu on development issues within the area.
The question of whether or not members of parliament should be held accountable for the development of their constituencies have become more rife following attacks by some constituents on their members of parliament. First was the majority leader of parliament Osei Mensah Bonsu, who was met with a protest by scores of spare parts dealers at the Suame Magazine enclave over the delay in starting a road project. Then, the Member of Parliament for Echima Mwabieja South constituency, Emmanuel Ajayi Anshre, who was also attacked over poor road network in his constituency. Political analyst Jonathan Asante-Ocho, wading into the conversation, says members of parliament are not directly responsible for the development of their constituency.
When a parliamentarian has its party in government, it equally connotes the view that they are supposed to be agents of development, champion development itself, construct this, do this, and so on and so forth. That is a misconception about the role of parliamentarians. But the other unfortunate thing too is that it has become so because whenever they want to woo their constituents to vote for them, they go on promising spree.
He said the New Patriotic Party must be worried about the recent upheavals within the party's strongholds.
The point is that when you see parliamentarians failing woefully, it is a micro of the macro. The macro is that at a central government level, they have failed. In terms of development, they have failed. And that is why it is translating at the micro level. And the micro level, as it were, is these MPs.
He called on the president, however, to take responsibility for the slow pace of development in various parts of the country. He advised the NPP government to sit up if they really want to break the 8.
Let me bring you what exactly the response from John Jinapor is as he responds to the president's statement and calling of his people there to ask him during the next elections. And he says, Mr. President, if we have only 17 towns yet to be connected to the national grid, the critical question you should answer is what you have done so far to complement what you inherited. You cannot be sleeping on the job and blame others for your own failures. More importantly, at national level, the NDC government expanded access to electricity from 50% to 83.24%. This can be confirmed in paragraph 463 of the 2017 budget as presented by Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, and it reads, under rural electrification, 1,212 communities were connected to the national grid, increasing the national electricity access rate from 80.5% to 83.24%. Away from that, the youth groups who allegedly vandalized the NDC Northern Regional Office have called on the party to ask the police to stop harassing them. In a press conference, they threatened to leave the NDC if the police continue on to pursue them.
On Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, some irate youth of the NDC who were dissatisfied with the election of Adolf Ali as acting chairman of the party in the northern region after the demise of Alhaji Ibrahim Mobila vandalized the NDC's Northern Regional Party office. shooting guns indiscriminately. The youth also threatened to deal with any party leader who tried to bypass Alhaji Rufai Valim, one of the vice chairmen of the party, to impose Adolf Ali on them. After the attack, the Northern Regional Police Command promised to arrest all the perpetrators, indicating that they have identified almost all. Soon after, 7 suspects were picked up by the police. However, the youth groups have expressed displeasure over the arrest of the 7 people whom they say were not part of the vandalism. Accusing some party bigwigs of being behind the harassment, they called on leadership of the party to settle the matter through the party structures rather than using the police to intimidate them.
Police are patrolling all around to all the known bases, arresting people who knew nothing about the rampage of the regional party office. Their crime is only that they, the youth of the NDC, sitting at their usual bases. About 8 have been arrested since, just for sitting at their bases. 7 of the people were arrested at the private residential of the Northern Regional Vice Chairman, Alhaji Rufai, into bracket PLM. Among them was the Northern Regional Deputy Communication Officer, who is Hadi Pagaza, and one other constituency executive. Their crime was only that they went yesterday morning to greet Alhaji Rufai, who is the Regional Vice Chairman.
Promised to stop working for the party if the police do not stop the indiscriminate arrest of their members.
If the needless and reckless actions of the police arrest is not immediately stopped, we, the youth of the party in the region, will advise ourselves. The party will belong to Honorable Idris Haruna. We will prefer to be non-members of the party than to be arrested by the police force. It is painful that we, the party, have sacrificed our everything for the party.
Away from the quarters of the NDC now to the NPP, the New Patriotic Party has appointed new officers into Deputy National Executive positions and directors of the party. Former Executive Director of the Dankwa Institute, Richard Enyagba, was appointed as the new Director of Communications, whilst Evans Nimako was maintained as Director of Research and Elections.
For Communication Director, the one who will be working closely with you is Mr. Richard Kwame Ahiagba, who is the Communication Director for the New Patriotic Party. Then Mr. Frederick Ameyao is the Director of External Affairs. Mr. Kojo Afare is the Director for Protocol. Mr. Ernest Ousu-Kume, the Director for Research. Mr. Ernest Ousu-Bempa, Deputy Director Communication. Mr. Kamal Din Abdullah, Deputy Director Communication. Rabbi Salifu, Deputy Director Communication. Madam Jennifer Oforiapia, Deputy Director Communication. And Mr. Esiodu Kukru as Deputy Director Communication.
We are live from our studios here at Regional Accra, the Akua Boahima Studio. Still to come after the break, Greater Accra Regional Minister's flagship program, Operation Clean Your Frontage, to suffer major setback as City Response Task Force alleges political interference and sabotage in their work.
The issue is that as at now that we are standing here, our job is going to spoil because of Moses Ano. He said we are taking people's things, and we are not there to do that because our father told us we shouldn't do that. We should cope with the people and then tell them to keep them very clean. Don't allow human trafficking.
Welcome back. Now, the members of the City Response Task Force marched up at the Operation Clean Your Frontage Secretariat in Accra over concerns about political interference in their work. The group alleges that some leaders of the New Patriotic Party in the Greater Accra region are sabotaging their work. Because of their complaints, they asked the Secretariat to suspend their work. Their protest came after the NPP's youth organizer in the Greater Accra region, Moses Abo was alleged to have released a statement indicating opposition to the decongestion exercise at the Accra Central Business District. Let's hear from some members of the city response team.
The issue is that as at now that we are standing here, our job is going to spoil because of Moses Ano. He said we are taking people's things, and we are not there to do that because our father told us we shouldn't do that. We should cope with the people and then tell them to keep them very clean. Don't allow human trafficking. And now that's what we are doing. We are not taking people's things. And they have sent it to air that we are taking people's things. We are annoyed and we cannot allow that.
Yeah, this morning, we were there yesterday, and they give us a message that we should report to the premises of Accra, that circle. And we don't know what's going on. We came here this morning, and we had many stories going on. And even we had them talking on the radio station that we are Abaye, but rather we are not Abaye. If you go to Medina, I work at Medina, I'm Medina Municipal. If you go there, we are not Abaye. We make sure every place is clean, and we are the city response team. We have the Abaye at Medina Market, and we are not Abaye. But rather because of politics, others want to spoil the work, and they want to dismiss us in the work. So we are not here just to talk. We want to go there and go and explain things to the whole Ghana. They should understand the city response team. We are not Abaye. We are not Abaye, and we are not taking things or collecting tomatoes or this. No, we are here to make the country clean. That's our way.
So why did the secretariat call you?
He called us this morning. We don't know what they call us this morning for. But we came here and we hear rumors about things going on. But we are just waiting. They said others are saying about termination of our contract. But we are here waiting for the minister to come and talk.
Let's have a conversation on the back of this issue. Nee Clotin is the technical advisor at the Operation Clean Your Frontier Secretariat. He joins us via Zoom. Also joining us on the phone is the Greater Accra Regional Youth Organizer of the NPP, Moses Abo. Good evening to you, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us here tonight on this night.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good evening.
Let me start with you, Nee Clotin. Now, what really are the concerns of your city response team?
I believe you summarized it in your introduction for the news. A subtle political interference, so to say. I'm careful not to overly spread because I don't think it is the action of the whole party rank and file.
And did you really ask them to bring their work to a halt as a result of what they complain about?
Well, we have to re-strategize because we wouldn't also want to put them in harm's way. When you have some political actor, so let me say a political actor, more like generating some form of a displeasure against the city response team on the ground, and literally inciting traders against them. We can't put them in harm's way because we've trained them very professionally to make sure they don't retaliate in the line of duty. So you wouldn't want to cause any challenge. So in the meantime, we had to call them back and re-strategize because we can't afford to go have any altercations in the line of duty.
If you say re-strategize, what do you mean by that?
Well, it involves a lot of things.
Take me through them quickly.
That by the time we get back to the field, to continue their work as a city response team. At least they have that social acceptance, and also the citizens understand exactly what they are there to achieve. And there's that cooperation for us all to achieve a clean Accra, which I believe is still the vision of His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and a shared concern for any well-meaning Ghanaian or any well-meaning city dweller.
Emmanuel, kindly hold on for me. Let me speak to Moses Abo, who is also joining us here tonight on the news. We want to find out. Now, there's a release with your name making rounds, suggesting that you are hindering the work of the city response team. Did you write that?
Did I do what?
Did you write that?
The what, sir, please?
Now, if you can hear me, I'm asking, there is a release in your name making rounds, suggesting that you are hindering the work of the city response team. Did you write that release?
First of all, that is not true. This is propaganda, and I don't know where this is coming from. and I think I'm pleading with them, and I want your viewers to understand that if maybe things are not going on well, people should incite the youth against their own regional youth organizer. It is a pure propaganda. I have not mentioned city response team anywhere. I support Operation Clean Your Frontage, and we all believe cleanliness leads to what? Godness. So there's no way Moses Abo will fight the city. I don't know where this thing is coming from. I don't know where this thing is coming from. For me, I keep saying I'm against certain things that is not good for the government and the country as well. But I'm not against city response team, please, my brother.
Your name also came up during the decongestion exercise at Circle. Have you in any way engaged any member of the response team yet?
Not at all. I don't. Circle, I didn't even meet anybody there. My brother, for me, I'm a regional youth organizer. The traders in Accra came to me about what is happening. I listened to the radio or the TV or the voice that you are playing, that they are not doing Nambaye. There is an assembly that fall within Clotilde Colley that they are injecting them from the pavement, and therefore they want the assembly to also introduce what happened at Circle. You know, when you come to Circle from Paloma down to the bridge, you can see most of the traders selling on the pavement, that they have done this thing that they are on the pavement. So they want that thing should be in Accra. So I don't know where this propaganda, this noise, and inside the boys that I said they shouldn't work, which is not true, my brother.
Is this to say that you have your own reservations with how they go about their work?
But about which work? The city response team?
Yes.
But I have not engaged them. I have not interfered into whatever they are doing. So where is this coming from? That is exactly what, for me, I think someone has a problem with me, or someone think maybe there's a load on me that I cannot carry. The person shouldn't use this as an advantage to push their boys that go. Moses say, blah, 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 he doesn't want you, so that they hold their work. No, if they are listening to me, I'm pleading with them. I have no problem with city response team. My argument is that I am against certain demolitions, certain abaye that is going on in town. That is what I said. I didn't speak anything ill about city response. If they can send you my statement or whatever they are saying, go through and see whether I've mentioned city response in my comment. No, please, my brother.
Emmanuel, if you are still there, you've heard Moses Abo address the issue. What do you have to say about that?
Moses Abo obstructed the city response team in their duties on the Farisco stretch. They were being supervised by an XW. Moses Abo obstructed them. And that was a clear report I got, and literally ended up inciting the traders against the city response team. So I'm a bit at a loss. But well, not necessarily to be having a banter on open media. I believe that Honorable Moses Abo knows the Operation Clean Your Frontage Secretariat. He knows the outfit of the Greater Accra Regional Minister. We have mentioned that his actions and inactions has created disaffection and tend to be raising sentiment against the work of the city response team. If he feels he has a challenge, there's the need to draw closer to us for us to have a discourse. One thing I like about the Honorable Regional Minister and report is that he likes a lot of engagement.
Emmanuel, hold on for me, please.
The Operation Clean Your Frontage. Yep.
Yes, please.
Moses, Emmanuel is saying that if you have any suggestions or reservations, approach them and talk about it. Have you done that?
The reason is I don't have problem with city response. So how do I approach him?
But you mentioned earlier that you've had a problem with the way they're asking people to live where they are working. You mentioned that earlier.
Not city response. We have the assemblies within the various municipals, which I think they have an authority, which is the municipal chief executive. They are those people that I would engage, but not him Emmanuel Clote is my former colleague.
You mentioned your name and respond to the question that you incited the traders there.
How would I incite the traders? How? Oh, I don't know. Ask him whether I didn't even call him 3 days or 4 days ago if I didn't call him, because I know he is the former regional research and election officer. He was my former colleague. This time around, unfortunately, he went through election. He didn't have it, but I had my election. So I didn't incite any traders. Point of correction. He shouldn't go there. We are all in the same party. We shouldn't wash our clothes outside. Reason is that I don't have any problem with city response team. City response team is saying they are not doing Ambaye. So where is this coming from? I don't know where they want to, turn the whole story or wherever to incite rather the boys. They are rather inciting them against me.
All right, Emmanuel.
Yes.
Quick feedback from that.
So I honestly see a clear backtrack by my honorable regional youth organizer. Well, I'll take that in good faith if he has backtracked, but just to also mention that there's the way we discuss some of these issues, and causing open altercations in open space is not convenient. If there's any challenge, like I said, even the MMDCs you're talking about, they work to a regional minister.
All right, thank you, Emmanuel.
They are supervised by the regional.
Great, and so Emmanuel Ni Clote is the technical advisor to the Operation Clean Your Frontier Secretariat, and also Moses Abol is the Greater Accra Regional Youth Organizer for the New Patriotic Party, the NPP. Away from that, now sad news reaching Metro News indicates that 4 persons are feared dead, while several others have sustained various degrees of injuries as a result of an accident that had occurred on the Kaswa-Winneba Highway. There's more in this report.
A Sprinter bus with registration number CR 577-20 collided with a Toyota Fish registered GW 8690-22 Budiata Junction on the N1 highway. Witnesses say 4 people were found dead at the spot, whilst a pregnant woman and several others are in critical condition and have been rushed to nearby health facilities.
Maza, ya wano, ya gira onyina ya motosifo. Yesu ye na yi nkrofo no firi kan. Yesu na ya dan, ebo modin, edumu ja no. De mi hu mu se mo awu o mu go a mi hu mo no. Ba ko fo na mi hu ye. People no kura masa, yakobon mwaye. O skuni pa ne na ya bubugu o. Na maame ne pantan ya atwa. Maza, anadwo mi hu de me ya adakura.
Meanwhile, driver of the Sprinter bus, Freeman Yaukpo, a survivor of the accident, claims that the driver of the Toyota Fish car made a wrongful overtaking leading to the accident.
Watch us live from our studios here at Regional Accra, the Akria Boy Mas Studio. Quick break. When we come back, business will be on with Kenneth Jesse.
Welcome back to News Night here on Metro Television. Now in business tonight, Executive Director for Revenue Mobilization Africa, Jeffrey Okanse, says government has failed to rake in the necessary revenue from the e-levy due to the poor implementation of the tax policy. He has called on government to review the e-levy to enable it achieve its target.
Fresh data from the Finance Ministry indicates government has raked in less than 7% of its e-levy target. This shows a significant shortfall in revenue from the electronic transfer levy. The e-levy, which was initially expected to rake in some 6.9 billion cedis by the end of 2022, was recently revised to 4.5 billion cedis after the Finance Ministry announced the tax policy was not performing as expected. According to the new data, the month of May, which was expected to rake in 487.4 million cedis, only achieved 39.4 million cedis, which is just 8.08% of the targeted amount. Tax expert Geoffrey Okansi, analyzing the data, said the policy has failed to achieve its target due to the poor implementation by government.
We knew that government was not going to hit this target because the e-levy itself, there was poor communication around it. Tax communication is very, very important. How do you do tax communication? It should be participatory. Speak to the people, go to the people, talk to them about the taxes, hear their feedback. People are just not happy about it because it's actually going to persons who are even paying remittances to their family members. The one that they were complaining about, they didn't get it, and you put 0.5 in addition. You see, and we also mentioned to government that rather they were going to lose revenue. What did we say? We were saying that, look, when people resent from paying, the 1% that you were getting from the telecos already through the normal momo we were doing is going to drop. And that has dropped as well.
He called on government to immediately review the tax policy to make it more effective.
We want to see a system where government will communicate taxes. When they communicate the taxes to us, they should listen. It should be a discussion, a participatory one. When we have dialogue on that one, they should collect with a human face. Improved systems should be there. Now, when they have collected, they should be accountable to the people, because accountability and transparency and accountability inures to the benefit of government itself, because people then do what? Comply. It improves compliance, and then we'll have a good system of taxation.
He called for a broad stakeholder consultation on the implementation of taxes in the country.
In other business news tonight, Fitch Solutions projects Ghana's current account deficit to narrow to 2.8% of gross domestic product in 2022, down from 3.2% in 2021.
According to Fitch Solutions, this marks a revision from its previous 2022 projection of a deficit of 3.1% of GDP, reflecting weaker than anticipated merchandise import growth of 7.7% year-on-year over the first 4 months of 2022, while exports grew by 17.1%. It said elevated global commodity prices will cause Ghana's trade surplus to widen in 2022. Supply disruptions and risk of sentiment following Russia's invasion of Ukraine have increased prices of crude oil and gold, Ghana's two leading export commodities, together accounting for roughly a third of total exports and in turn Ghana's export earnings. Meanwhile, Fitch Solutions said weakened economic dynamics will cap import demand. It said elevated inflation, which reached 31.7% in July, and tighter monetary conditions are leading to deteriorating financial conditions for households and businesses. These dynamics, it added, will lead to lower demand for imported consumer and capital goods. As such, we expect merchandise import growth to remain low and below export growth at 15.0% over 2022. Overall, we see the trade surplus widening to 4.4% of GDP in 2022 from 1.4% in 2021, the ratings agency announced.
That's all for business. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Phil John Corte is next with sports.
It's 19 hours GMT, the Ghanaian capital of Accra. My name is Phil John Quartet, and it's time for sports. The DG at Ramani Hall within the Accra Sports Stadium will be the venue for the Ghana Hall Mawat Table Tennis Championship. Let's get a preview.
Over 200 table tennis players across the country, especially those in the nation's capital, are expected to converge at the DG Hatramani Sports Hall within the Accra Sports Stadium on Saturday, 27th August for the 2022 Homowo Table Tennis Championship. The one-day competition and an annual tournament is being staged to celebrate the Ghana Homowo Festival with the chiefs and people of the Ghana traditional area, neighboring towns, Osu, La, Nungwa, Teshi, Tema Newtown, among others. The competition will be staged by the leadership of the Greater Accra Table Tennis Association with sponsorship from TT Brothers Ghana Limited and will be played under the rules of the table tennis governing body in the country. The championship will be played in two categories, under 18 and men's division. Speaking with a session of the media ahead of Saturday's event, the president of the Greater Accra Table Tennis Association, Solomon Akono, mentioned that various preparations are underway to ensure successful competition. According to Mr. Akono, following the success of their last competition and the ongoing Greater Accra Table Tennis League, match will be expected from the players who are anxious to compete in the one-day competition. He added that the tournament will also afford players to battle each other, knowing very well the attractive prizes at stake, not forgetting the bragging right. Head of Human Resource and Commercial Manager at TT Brothers Ghana Limited, Princess Ochre, indicated that Edhafid has decided to support the Homowo Table Tennis Championship as part of their social responsibility and contribution towards sport development in the country. She said, TT Brothers is well known for the association with sports in Ghana, especially with the disciplines of football, boxing, and weightlifting, hoping that the investment into the Table Tennis Championship will help enhance and develop talent for the country.
I believe as part of our social responsibility as a company, we are mandated to help with the development of sports in Ghana. In the past, we have been supporting boxing and then football, but this time around, we want to help develop tennis, that's table tennis, and then help the young guys to unleash their talents in tennis. With our sponsorship, I hope it will impact on the players and as well as the children.
Matches of the Homowo Table Tennis Championship will be witnessed by veteran players and active players of the national team and will commence at 8 a.m. on the event day. Prizes such as trophies, medals, and products from the sponsors TT Brothers were presented to the various winners.
So Hall roads will lead to the Accra Sports Stadium at the DG Atramani Sports Hall tomorrow for the Ghana Homowo Table Tennis Championship. Let's go to the United Kingdom now and focus on the EPL match day 4 and all across Europe. But this is the Bundesliga. It's starting already. Freiburg are taking against Bochum. Over Leipzig, not Leipzig, the Leipzig, yeah, they will play against Wolfsburg. All the way to Bayern Munich will take on Borussia Mönchengladbach over there. Let's go straight to the EPL. We'll find out how it's going over there. It's starting tomorrow. That should be lunchtime. At St. Mary's, it was Southampton taking on Manchester United. Leicester City will travel all the way to London to take on Chelsea. Then we'll see how Manchester City, who do the last time, take on Crystal Palace. Then on Sunday, it will be Arsenal, who are yet to drop a point, take on Fulham in the EPL. Let's go to Spain now and find out how Barcelona and Real Madrid will be faring in the Spanish La Liga. Real Betis will take on Osasuna. It will be Almeria taking on Seville. Barcelona will take on Rayo Vallecano. And then Cadiz will take on Atletico Club. Well, that's your sports. My name is Phil John Cortes. I'll be coming back with Showbiz.
My name is Osiedo Akumi and it's time for Showbiz News. Ghanaian actor Prince Yosin, popularly known as Wache, who died on the 9th of August 2022, has been eulogized in a one-week funeral celebration held in his honor on Friday at the Accra Tourism Information Center.
The one-week celebration, which took place at the Accra Tourism Information Center earlier this morning, was crowded with mourners of veteran actor Prince Yosin, popularly known as Wache. Members of the creative arts industry graced the event to commiserate with the grieving family, the likes of Grace Omabo, popularly known as Mame Dokno Abrobe, Bob Smith Jr., popularly known as Diablo Man, Abeku Sego, Nana CK, Marco Krekumante, George Quay, Nisaka Brown, and members of the Obra group were present. Mourners were in a somber mood when mother of the deceased was dancing her sorrows away during a live band performance of some high life medley. Some actors who were present shared their fondest memory of the actor when he was alive.
He's a lovely guy. He's a lovely guy. And whenever there's a problem at home, he's the one my wife will call. That is how close we are. So if there's a problem and my wife calls him, whatever you tell my wife, I mean, my wife believes in him. So he's a very good guy. And I spoke to him 2 weeks before he died. I was at home on a Sunday. I just got so, bro, long time. Then so Mr. Brown, you have been trying, you call me all the time. I don't call you, but I'll start calling you. So you are the senior brother, so I should be calling you. Then he told me he has moved to my area at Manya. So we plan to meet the following week. We couldn't meet. Then I saw on Facebook that he's dead. Yes. So it's a blow to me.
Very calmly, forthcoming, and also he was somebody who would speak his mind. No matter whose horse got God, you know. And as far as the industry is concerned, I believe that he made a lot of contribution. You know, so he's somebody whose absence will be felt. We felt loud.
Now moving to Hollywood for our next story, American actor Sylvester Stallone and wife Jennifer Flavin are divorcing after 25 years of marriage. Flavin filed a petition for dissolution of marriage and other relief from the Rocky actor at a court in Palm Beach County, Florida. Stallone and Flavin married in 1997, though their relationship originally began in 1988 at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, California. They share 3 daughters, Scarlett, 20, Sistine, 24, and Sophia, 25. Stallone is also a father to son Sergey from his previous marriage to Sasha.